So let's unpack the leadership deficit. What is this big gap? What is this leadership crisis that we are sitting with globally, and in the church in particular? When you look at the modern church, this is where the rationale for leadership engagements and interventions are coming from. We've got a problem of aging leaders and declining vocations. So on a global scale, in 2024, research shows that the average pastor in the church, the senior pastor, is about 60 years old. The problem is there are no younger leaders who are being raised to replace these 60-year-old pastors who are going on retirement. So that is a big concern. Senior pastors at 60, they are exiting the Christian community of leaders. We do not have comparable replacements for those leaders. In the United States, and this is a global problem, in the United States of America, senior pastors by 2024 are sitting at about 55 years. So they've got about 5 years, maximum 10 years to go. And the problem is there is no effective succession. So by the time they go on pension, no effective replacements have been prepared for these pastors in the US. Now, when you look at this crisis in China, for instance, between the periods 2019 and 2023, which is a 4-year period, paid pastors dropped from 4,252 to about 3,492 annually. So there are more and more losses from the system of paid pastors and workers that do pastoral work in China. And congregations, or more increasingly, are being led, or rather left without a pastor. Now, this in China, and when you look at the US and the global picture, confirms the fact that leadership succession is a serious problem. It's no more a problem, it's not a challenge, it is a crisis. There's an aging leadership, but there is not a follow-up that is being prepared adequately and on time. Now, if you bring that deficit crisis really into the South African context, we are sitting with the same problem. In South Africa, when you talk about the church, the leadership deficit has gone to crisis proportions. Succession failure, and some of this came up in your reflections as well. Pastoral burnout, pastors are stretched so much that they cannot make it. Financial unsustainability, there's no effective economic ecosystem that can help pastors sustain in the local assemblies. Structural breakdown, when the visionary dies, everything just goes in tatters because there has not been effective succession. And so this is where you get all kinds of fights and conflicts after the visionary has gone, and the whole structural setup of that vision gets destroyed. And so in response, these challenges requires a few things. One, governance. Many churches do not have a governance system. There's no effective ethics that are defined, risk management plans, compliances. Many of the churches are not even legally registered. Administration is a crisis, you know. So this is an area that needs immediate attention and response. Governance. Number two, training. Our congregation leaders are not all trained to the degree that they are able to even think about succession and put up a proper succession plan. Pastoral care is a big problem that needs to be attended urgently. Pastors feel burnt out, alone, unsustained, not cared for, and denominations do not really go out of their ways for pastors and so forth, even with independent movements. That is a problem that needs urgent attention. Now, when you look at the burnout and early attritioning, global research from Barna, for instance, and the Hartford Institute shows that 42% of pastors have seriously considered leaving ministry over the past 3 years. So 2025, 2024, 2023, all the way up to 2022, actually, 42% year on year of pastors are saying, no, we're throwing in the towel. This thing is not working for us. We cannot go on like this. 40% are at high risk of burnout. So In 2015, the risk of pastors being burned out was about 11% globally. Today, as we speak, it is sitting at about 40%. Almost half of all the pastors around the globe, Christian leaders, are saying, I'm probably going to have to take a short left here. Spiritual well-being dropped from 37% to 14%. Mental health has dropped from 39% to 11%. So the pastors are not well. The leaders are not well spiritually. They are not well. A lot of them have got mental breakdowns. They are admitted in institutions. They are not coping. Here is part of this crisis or contributor to the leadership deficit. It is found by Langham that 80% of evangelical pastors worldwide have little or no formal theological training. In other words, there's a shallow leadership pool, and this makes the church susceptible to error in doctrine. And this is why there's such a mushrooming of personality cults. Somebody just says something that you hear for the first time, and this is revelation, this is a man of God. And a lot of people are just falling in that groove because there isn't sound doctrine. The problem is there isn't adequate training, sufficient equipping of pastors, up to 80%. It is frightening. Barna's stats also show that there's insufficient pipelines and processes to identify and train young leaders. In other words, there isn't a system in the church, mostly, where young leaders are identified on time, those who've got leadership potential, put on a program, developed, so that at the time of the exit of senior leaders, these younger leaders can take in that responsibility. Leaders leaving institutions, including churches, operating below replacement levels is a discovery that was made by Lifeway. So the development and training of pastors is not something that the church is doing well in. Now,